Okay, awesome. So welcome everyone. Tonight we're going to talk about the story of your life and how the experiences that you have in your life can affect you and help you as a coach to be able to help more people. And then how you can share your story in breadcrumbs throughout your posts. And so people can get to know you and to really start to trust you and know who you are, and that they can come to you with the things that they've been dealing with and can kind of see that you have had those similar experiences and that you're on the other side of it and you can help them through it. So let me see if I can click through. Okay, awesome. So let's talk for just a minute about what your story is about and how you can recognize your story. So we're going to say that there's three main buckets to your story. The first one is financial. Obviously, Beachbody can give us some major financial blessings. For us, we've been able to pay off our debt. And I have cover car payments here too, because I want you to really think about how the money that you've brought in, how much is it every month, and what does that money do for you and your family? I saw a post recently where someone posted that they paid for that Beachbody paid for their car, and I was thinking, oh, that's weird. Like, we don't actually pay for cars. But the money that they brought in, she was able to make the connection that it was the same amount that she pays for her car payments. So making those kind of connections and really helping people see the actual tangible things that you're paying for with your Beachbody income can really help make a big difference for them, and they can kind of start to see, oh, maybe I can, have this blessing in my life and what specific things that it can do for you. And then just even something as simple as not having to stress at Target. I remember when I was a new mom and we were really struggling before Beachbody, my boys were wearing hand-me-downs only. And if they needed new shoes, it would stress me out to pay for shoes because that was a burden for us and for our family. And then I remember, shopping with my daughter, who's my first girl. And so she needed new clothes and she didn't just have hand-me-downs. And I have been able to buy her 2 pairs of shoes if I wanted to, and I didn't even have to stress. And so those small things that we can make those connections and share with other people can be part of our story as well. Obviously, our physical story is pretty clear. If we have any kind of a weight loss transformation, sharing that is easy to share. And then also to be able to share our challenger successes, because their successes is our success as well. So don't be afraid to share other people's success and other people's transformation using Beachbody products. Our family habits, I love sharing that we love to take walks and go to the park and that we're active. That's not the norm for most families in America. So that is a big part of your story. If you have a family and kids who love doing pull-ups or doing a workout with you, showing that positive, healthy habits that you have with your family can be a big part of your story as well. And then your energy level, what a blessing it is to be able to keep up with your kids. I know that there was a time in my life with my young kids when I did not have the energy that I needed to keep up with them before I found Beachbody and before I was working out daily. So that's another important thing to be able to share. And then we have an emotional part of the story. And sometimes this is harder to share than the other two, because the other two can be pretty tangible. But our emotional story can be really deep, and it can be really difficult to share because it pulls out these emotions. If you have suffered with depression or anxiety, these are things that there's so many moms and other women who deal with those same things daily. So if you've been able to experience how being healthy has helped you with these things, sharing that is really important. And I am going to tell you an experience that I had that really helped me realize that sometimes we are given these trials and struggles so that we can help other people get through them themselves. My confidence level has risen so much from being a coach and being able to help other people. Being confident in my own skin and in my own body has helped me to be able to help other women get there as well. And then I've realized my self-worth 100-fold by being able to help other people. So I hope that you have been able to kind of see that there's a lot of different areas for you to talk about your story. A lot of different ways that you can kind of reach in and dig deep to see what the story of your life is. So I want to tell you a very life-changing experience that I had about 7 years ago when my second child, Jackson, was born. And I don't have any pictures. I actually looked on my blog to see if I could find a picture because I have a very vivid picture in my mind of being in a hospital bed, and I was on morphine for like 3 days. I almost died and he almost died, and just laying there on drugs feeling miserable. I just have that deep picture of it in my mind, but I couldn't seem to find a picture. So about 8 years ago, my husband and I were living in Texas, and our oldest child was a year old when I got pregnant. And we had just barely moved there. We didn't have any health insurance. And the company that he was working for, his insurance didn't kick in. And so when I was pregnant and looking for insurance, they had called it a pre-existing condition. And so no one would insure me. And the only option that I had to get insurance was over $1,000 a month. And that wasn't even a possibility. We couldn't afford that. So what I did qualify for, besides Medicaid, which we almost qualified for but didn't, was this weird government-assisted program that I realized later only non-U.S. residents qualified for. So I had to travel about a half hour away to downtown Dallas, and I was a part of this clinic, and I never saw the same doctor more than once. There was a sign on the building that said, "No guns, no drugs," which was very comforting. And I never was really able to connect to anyone personally. I felt really alone and isolated. I had a really hard pregnancy. I was throwing up almost every day. At about 20 weeks, I went in for my ultrasound, and they said that everything was fine. But about a week later, I got a phone call, and they said that everything was not fine and that my baby probably had Down syndrome. And so after a lot of praying and thinking about it, we decided that we wanted to have the amnio test, which was what they would do is insert a really thick, long needle into my belly and pull out some of the amniotic fluid and test it. And it was a really, really scary day. I also had negative blood type, so I had to have a RhoGAM shot, which was really painful. That actually hurt more than the other thing. But it was a really, really scary, scary day for me. And luckily, everything ended up fine, and my baby didn't have Down syndrome, and I would have been fine either way. I just really needed to know ahead of time. I felt like if I knew that I'd be able to prepare myself and to prepare my family. So fast forward a couple months later, and Jackson was born. And when I was in the hospital in labor, we had a lot of complications. And remember, I did not have a doctor. I didn't have anyone that knew my story or that knew what I was going through. And what happened was his heart rate was dropping really low, and I was having these spastic contractions. And so long story short, they had to rush me back to surgery to have an emergency C-section. And it had to happen so quickly that my husband wasn't even in the room with me, and they had to put me down all the way under, so I didn't even get to experience his birth either. And when I woke up, I didn't even know if he was alive. I didn't know if everything was okay. It was super, super scary. And luckily my husband was there. And the only reason that I believed him that he was even alive was that he showed me a video of him moving. And then I finally believed him. So then they told me that my uterus tore, and I had to have a blood transfusion, and they had to cut me up and down. And so I have a huge scar on my stomach, and a really difficult recovery. And as I was recovering, I had postpartum depression, I had anxiety, and I had post-traumatic stress, which I didn't even know that there were words for that. I didn't know that it was a thing that I was going through. I didn't know that anyone else had, felt those things. I just knew that I was really struggling and that I was really unhappy, and I was having flashbacks of the birth and everything, and it was really awful and really scary. And the reason why I tell you all this is because that was my rock bottom. That was the hardest part of my whole life. And there were many days where I asked myself, like, why did that have to happen to me? Why did I have to experience this? And then I would argue with myself and say, why are you, I would feel guilty and say, like, why am I even wondering? My baby is fine. I'm okay. We both lived through this. So a few months later, after I was really struggling with this and trying to accept and understand why it was happening to me, I did a lot of praying and soul searching, and I realized that I needed to understand service better. I needed to learn how to accept service, and I needed to learn that it wasn't my time to serve other people yet. But when it was my time and when I was ready and when I was able to kind of dig out, I needed to double up on my service. And so about a year later, Jackson was born on December 31st, so New Year's Eve. About a year later, I was setting my New Year's resolutions, and I set a goal to be able to help someone every single day. And I would just pray to be in the right place at the right time and be able to help someone new every day. And so one particular day, I happened to be at the grocery store without my kids, which was very rare. It didn't ever happen. I was checking out, and I saw that one of my friends was checking out at the same time, and she had a cart full of groceries. She had her toddler with her, and she had just had a baby, almost the same exact situation that I had just had about 2 or 3 weeks earlier. And I stopped dead in my tracks, and I realized I was there in that grocery store in that moment to help her. And I knew exactly what she needed because I had gone through the same thing. I knew that she was hurting. I knew that it would be hard for her to get her groceries from the store into the car. And I asked her if I could help her, and she let me help her. And she said, I didn't know how I was going to get the groceries to the car. I didn't even know how I was going to do it. And I realized that is why we have trying situations and struggles, is so that we can know how to help other people and how to help other people through those situations. It's not fun. It's not easy. It's very difficult. But when we can be on the other side of it and see the things that we struggled with and the things that someone going through that same thing might need, we know how we can help them too. And so I am a better coach because I've been through those things. And almost every day I talk to a mom who is either suffering with depression or had a C-section, and I can talk to her about the kind of pain she's having and that it's going to get better and the kind of exercises she'll be able to do eventually. And I'm so thankful that I was able to experience these things so that I can help other people now in the long run. So I don't talk about it very often. I probably should talk about it more because it is a big part of my story, but it brings out all the emotions of the event. And so it is hard for me to talk about, but I have that to be able to have conversations with other people and so that I can help them in whatever situation that they're in. So now I wanted to turn the time over to you guys, and Lisa and Becca are going to start. And this PowerPoint is here just to kind of jog your mind and your memory if you need it. We don't need you to talk about every single one. Maybe just pick one thing that you want to talk about. And it can be as simple as your Pinterest boards or an interest that you have if you want to just go that route. You don't have to say anything super deep or hard if you don't want to. But we're going to help you make that connection to how those interests or those experiences can help you be a better coach. Okay, so Lisa or Becca, go ahead and take it away.
Okay, yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, Kirsty. Like, I was over here, like, trying not to lose it. So that was great. I definitely think that is something that's taken me a long time to realize, is that sharing who you are and parts of your story. And, we have different stories within different avenues. Like, it might not just be this one lump sum huge story. It might be like stories within a story to share. And it took me a really long time to get vulnerable with people. Like, it's easy to talk about health and fitness. It really is. And I think that's the beauty of being a Beachbody coach, is like, everybody wants to get healthy, no big deal. We can just brush the surface. But when you really get to the heart of like, why did I become a coach? Like, I had to ask myself that. like 6 months in, a year, I still have to ask myself that. Why did I decide to do this? Like, I really have to ask myself that. And it takes some reflection, and it takes some hard looks at my life and how it was in all those different avenues, financial, physical, and emotional. But amazing points. So I just want to go ahead and kick it off to you guys. I think most of you have been asked, were shared these questions earlier in the day or yesterday. So if you could just pick one or even just sum them up briefly, because we don't want to just, all share for a long time. But if you could just tell us, what is something that you learned about yourself or about your story through these questions, or like one thing that you just want to highlight, or one thing that you can share with other people on social media, or one thing that you think can relate to others that will make them go, man, I can relate to that. Like, I feel that, and I want her to be my coach, and I want to be a coach, and I'm excited. Because when you start, the more real you get and the more at the heart that you are, the more that people will start to relate to you and really feel that connection. So does anybody, Eileen, I feel like you could go. Does anybody else feel like they could go share anything with us?
Okay, well, I guess I could go.
I knew it.
Yeah, so I went ahead and I answered all of these questions actually only like about a half hour before we got on. So I have a lot of things going through my head, but I guess, let's see here. I guess I can just kind of tie in life-changing experiences and kind of like afflictions or kind of hardship type things that I've experienced. Growing up wasn't easy for me. I had just a lot of different family issues, and my brother's adopted, and so he's been in and out of crime life, and is currently in prison. And so, I mean, it's a really big mess. And so growing up with that, I had to learn, kind of had to grow up quickly, and he had a lot of mental health issues. And so a lot of money was spent on medical bills and things like that, and hospitalizations. And so, I grew up without a lot of money, and my parents did, the best that they could. And I watched my parents sacrifice, time and time again for myself and my brother. And to make a really long story short, fast forward like 20 some odd years, and my brother is, like I said, he's in prison for a second time now, and he has an 18-month-old son who has neuroblastoma cancer. And so my nephew and my parents, he's in foster care, and my parents are 50 years old and they're raising him. And so he just finished his 4th round of chemo, and we're waiting to see if he has to have radiation. And my parents both have health issues. My mom and I have a lot of similar health issues. My parents are very, very tired. They're both overweight. And kind of after I started seeing like what Beachbody is about, I thought, well, if I can figure this out, and if I can get myself healthy, then maybe it's something that my parents will see me doing, and if for nothing else, just do Shakeology. And that might help them feel like they have a little bit more energy. And so that's kind of one of the biggest reasons, maybe one of, not the biggest, but one of the big reasons kind of why I decided to jump into this, because there's not a lot that I can do from 5 hours away, because that's where my parents live in Illinois with my nephew. But I feel like maybe this is something that I can do. I know it's something that my mom really wants to do. They want to improve their health. They're going to end up raising London. And so starting with an 18-month-old at 50 years old, like, that's rough business. So that's one of the big deals. And And then as far as for me, like my personal story, I've always kind of liked being fit. I've always been really active, never had a very good healthy eating habits, like ever. I was thinner and fit before because I worked out like a maniac in college, and I did gymnastics and things like that. Well, I actually ended up, Becca, you probably don't even know this, but I actually, I did a college cheerleading tryout with a broken bone in my ankle, and I didn't make it, and I didn't end up going back to Olivet that year just because I ended up going to just a whole different avenue. But I ended up having surgery on my ankle to have the bone removed, and I was down, like could not move at all really or walk for like a couple months, and I gained a lot of weight. All of that muscle that I had built up just working out like several hours a day in gymnastics, like basically went to nothing. And I've had 2 different umbilical hernia repairs. And so going through 2 different major abdominal surgeries was really rough to just it's like starting from nothing all over again every single time you have, anybody who's had a C-section, And so that was really rough to do that. And I just kind of never felt like I always felt like I had something just kind of standing on top of me. Like I could not ever get past that point to where I could just be free again as far as with fitness, and life just got crazy. And so after I had my first baby, I was like, you know what? I am determined. I may be overweight, but I am not going to carry around baby weight. My mom jokes around that she still has baby weight, and I'm 27, so like that's not going to fly, So I just didn't want to be that. And so I was able to get rid of all the baby weight with my first baby, and with breastfeeding, thank God. And my second baby, my Emma Kate, she's 6 months old, and the weight did not come off easy with her. And I have just had a lot of problems with depression and anxiety and not liking myself. And I guess when I had a son, I didn't really ever want him to like think his mommy didn't like herself. But then when I had a daughter, like it became such a different story. I don't want my daughter to ever look at me and think that I don't love me, or like, and think it's okay for her to think that she doesn't have to love herself or that she's not pretty. Because I definitely am not. I refuse to be the person to show her that. And so I just decided she's 6 months old, and if I get myself put together and I lose weight and I do it the healthy way, and it not be just some quick fix diet, that it be a lifestyle change, that she may not ever remember mommy being tired and depressed and overweight. And that's just really kind of been my big goal, is mainly just to do it for myself, my kids, and kind of to help my parents. So that's just kind of I guess awesome. To sum up a couple of those in one shot.
Yeah, and I think you'll find that sometimes, like, you definitely, like, you couldn't write a post that's that long on Facebook, right? But you can break it up into, like, you probably had a few stories within that, different aspects that you can focus on. And as you, just getting you to think about those things, it helps kind of develop what your story is and how it is, and how you can relate to your target market and your audience and people that are just like you. So let's hear from someone else by asking yourself these questions again. What was like 1 or 2 things that you learned about yourself, or about the story you want to share, or about the person you're trying to reach through these questions? There's only about, I think, like 4 or 5 of you to answer. Deanna, Ashley, Christy, an iPad.
I can share an answer to one of the questions. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I was thinking, like, what are your passions? I was thinking about, and honestly, one of my passions is health and fitness, obviously why I'm a coach. But so I just really like, when I talk to moms, I feel like so many moms struggle with finding that balance and like trying to find time to work out and like make healthy meals and all that kind of stuff. So like that's really like is my passion, is to try to put that on Facebook. That, and I do struggle with it too. Like I struggle with finding the balance, having 2 little kids, and so I just really try to share that on Facebook. Like today I posted a video of me working out with my kids, and they're like climbing all over me, and like I just try to put it out there, and I'm working on doing this better because I feel like I need improvement, but just showing that like I do struggle with these things, but I'm working on finding a balance. And like not every day is perfect. It's not always pretty. I miss days. Like I don't always eat perfect, but that I'm just trying to find that balance, and that you can be a mom and you can still live a healthy lifestyle, and you don't have to make your kids an excuse. So that's one of my big passions. So I just want to share that real quick. I was thinking about that question. So if anyone else wants to answer any of the other questions, it could be anything, even if like what interests you, what on Pinterest what do you pin on Pinterest, like anything.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm trying to switch rooms.
Is that Christy?
That just made me think, because I didn't really know what to say. But I think like that I like relating most to people that are just like really vulnerable and relatable, I guess. Because I don't know, like if you get into a conversation with somebody that's just really surface level, it's not the same. I'm sure as many of you can relate to that. But so I think just being vulnerable is something that I'm trying to work on myself. So this was actually a good team call for me. But like Lisa was saying, that you've always been into health and fitness and whatnot. I feel like the opposite. Like I've never been in like sports or anything like that. And my sister always was. So she was always like into basketball, track, everything. And she's a nutritionist or a registered dietitian or whatever. And so she's like always been super healthy and fit, and I've always been opposite. So I think that's like one of the main reasons why I became a coach, just for the personal accountability. And then I was telling one of my friends today, like, I like how it keeps me on track. Like, I've been struggling a lot ever since I had my daughter with everything that you guys have mentioned, like postpartum depression, anxiety, everything. So I finally feel like the past couple of weeks have been a lot better, and just getting back on track is making me feel good. So I think that coaching helps me in that department, because if I didn't have that accountability and just something to strive for and to help others do the same, then it would be a lot harder to stay on track, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. I love the accountability aspect, because like even though I have been like always into fitness and stuff, there's like so many days where I'm like, I just want to skip it, but then I'm like, wait, I need to do it because I have to post in my group or whatever. So it helps me, and so yeah, that definitely helps. And then yeah, like with all the struggles that you've had, like with after Claire was born and everything, you can use that. And you can relate to people more with that, like when you're talking to new moms, and so many moms go through that. So but yeah, I'm working on the same thing, like being more vulnerable and open and stuff like that. It's hard, but
yeah, it is. It's necessary for us.
Yes, exactly. Does anyone else want to share? I know you guys use Pinterest.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'm calling out Molly. You want to share anything with us?
Oh, all you guys have such great stories. I don't know if I have too much to add there. I've always considered myself very blessed because I'm sitting here trying to think of like some like affliction or anything, and I've been really blessed. I don't have anything major like that. I'm a really happy. Things have gone well. My passions are trying to think of something besides like my family and my kids, because that sounds so cliche, but they are. Everything I do is for them. I love being a wife and a mom. That is, my number one. And so for me to have the opportunity, like I think it was Eileen who was talking about her daughter, watching her, and she doesn't want her daughter to have, bad body images. And if she does, she certainly doesn't want them to come from her. And I feel very much the same, that I want my daughter to be confident no matter what. And to see, mom being confident too, and having that. So, I'm here. I really relate to, the moms who are struggling to just do the everyday, the day-to-day that seems so mundane, and all the same things that we do and that we struggle with, from, cooking dinner to keeping the house clean to being a taxi driver and a chauffeur, and being overscheduled and underscheduled. And that's just, I don't know, that's it. But yeah, I need to try and think of something, but I don't know. It's good questions to really think about. But no, my passions are definitely my family, as cliche as that is. I love them, and they're everything that I do, and the decisions that I make are all trying to figure out what's best, like for our family, what's best for me to keep mom happy, because when mom's happy, everybody else is happy. And when mom's not happy, no one gets a chance to be happy either. So it's really important.
Heck yeah.
I feel the same way though. Like I feel like I've been so blessed, and I don't have like something that happened in my life. And like, that's what I've been struggling with a lot lately. Like trying to come up with like an actual story. Sorry. But use like what you were just saying, like being a mom and like your daily struggles. That's what I've been trying to like put into my story. Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Just like those daily struggles that we have as being a mom, and using that as our story. You know what I mean? Instead of having to come up with like a specific thing if you haven't had something, because that's how I feel too. Like I haven't had a certain event happen, but we are moms and we are human, and we struggle daily with different things. So just
definitely.
Yeah,
definitely. I mean, I think there's so many things, as even not even necessarily as a mom, but as a family member, or just that trying to do everything, and balance everything, and getting rid of the mommy guilt that we so easily get. And I always get caught up in mommy guilt, and trying to teach my kids, and it's also important. It's fun for me. My kids get excited. They're like, Mom, is that a Beachbody shake? And they want to know all about it. And they're like, I was telling my teacher today about Shakeology. I'm like, oh, great. Like, now they'll really look forward to my emails. But
Brian, my 2-year-old with Shakeology. It's awesome. I'm like, yeah. You can't do that. You can't have Shakeology unless you clean up your toys.
Yep.
That's awesome. Yeah, Molly, I would not downplay that at all. And also you're pretty new coaching, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say that just keep these questions in mind. Like you might be looking at them going like, well, I don't have this like huge tragic event, but a year from now, you might be able to think back and reflect and be like, where you were. Like sometimes we just don't know where we are in the moment. And so it's, and that's how I was like, I mean, I have afflictions from my past, but like starting as a coach, it didn't really hit me until like 6 months later that I was like, oh, like, oh, wow. And even if it's just something small like finances or just, you know, like, yeah, like just things, you'll be able to have these questions and you'll be able to re-ask yourself. Maybe some of you haven't even allowed yourself to dream, like about, like, what do you think about when you're not thinking? Like, do you ever even allow yourself to dream past mommyhood and your daily grind and your work? You know, like if money was unlimited, what could you do, or what would you give to, or what would you start, or what would, you know, like sometimes we just don't even go there. But as you're coaching, those things will start to come into play and you'll be able to share that and think about it if you choose to reflect on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I loved your answers, and I don't think you should downplay them at all. Anybody else want to share? Even just one little tidbit.
So we have Ashley, Tom, which is my awesome dad, and an iPad, who I don't know who that is, but if you're the unnamed and you want to say something, you're welcome to.
I guess I'll go. I don't know. I'm the same way. I kind of struggle with something that I guess I struggled with. But the biggest life-changing thing that I had was I was always active. I was in a million sports. You know, I never had a minute's rest. I was always, you know, I ate whatever, but I worked it off a million times over during the days. And then once I got out of college, I had kind of a game-changing injury where I couldn't play anymore. And then so I continued to eat like I always had, but I couldn't take it off because I wasn't as active. And so the weight just kind of piled on. I got pregnant, and then I'm like, oh, it'll be great. I'll nurse and it'll all just fall back off. No big deal. And it didn't. It just kept piling on. It got to the point where 2 years after I had my daughter, I was up at like 225 pounds. I was miserable. I was huge. I hated everything about myself. And then something just clicked where I said, you know what, I have to change this because this is what, like everybody else mentioned, this is what my daughter sees. She sees me miserable. She's going to be miserable. So I wanted to fix that. And I am very, very conscious. I don't ever say the word diet around my daughter. We talk about positive things. I don't, like when she sees what I'm eating versus what other people are eating, or when I'm working out, even when I'm tired, we talk about it's part of a healthy lifestyle to stay healthy so that I can stay around for them and be a part of their lives. We don't really talk at all about it having to do with losing weight or anything like that. But then I lost a ton of weight. I dropped back down to my high school size. I was doing really well. And then I got pregnant with baby number 2. And then it was like a roller coaster all over again. I tried really hard to keep the weight off, but I had a lot of pain with him and I couldn't move very much. So of course the weight all came back on, and that's why I'm actively now trying to take it back off. But that's really the only struggle I've had. I struggle with my inner fat kid all the time. And so that's what I keep trying to help with other people. You know, I work at a job where I have 3 hours of commuting daily, and it's hard to find the time to do the meal prep and things like that, on top of working out, on top of getting everything done for the kids, on top of everything else. So I have been trying to target people who are in my situation where, you know, we're trying to make the best of no time and things like that. So that's all I got.
Awesome. Thank you, Ashley. Who's your coach?
Rebecca.
Becca. Okay. Becca, do you want to follow up with anything?
No, I love it. And two, I think you can also, like, as you are getting into it, you know, just like interest groups and things, like I could see you relating to college athletes, like ex-college athletes and people like that, because there is, like, when you play sports in high school and in college, like, there's just something, like there's a mindset, like there's a camaraderie there, and people relate to it even years later. Like it's been 10 years, but like, I just want to play volleyball again. Like I just have that feeling, anyway. So I think you'll be able to relate to women like that, and absolutely women who work full time and don't think they have time. Like that's an awesome niche market that you can relate to. That's not the stay-at-home mom, like look at all of us we're targeting stay-at-home moms. You have this whole group of people who think that they just have to accept that they're going to eat fast food every day and just be heavier or just be unhappy or just be tired or whatever. And you're going to reach them by being like, no, that's not acceptable. Like, look how you can do this. So I commend you. Absolutely.
All right, we have time for one more. If Dad, do you want to share with us?
Sure. So I'm getting the gist of what we're talking about here. We're talking about some of the things that we really struggled with that we are perhaps overcome through Beachbody.
Yes.
Okay.
Or realizing kind of that through those experiences that we can help other people because we have struggled with that.
So there's this concept that I've been wrestling with a lot lately as far as describing what I went through. And I call it like going from hopeless to healthy. And there's this thing that happens when you get to a point of hopelessness where you genuinely feel like you'll never get better. It's a horrible feeling. My story is going to be a little different than anybody else's, and yet there are elements of the same in all of our stories. I was a guy that loved competition, and so I played sports all my life, all the way up till just a few years ago. And I got to the point where I struggled with chronic arthritis in my knees. And, I played racquetball and I tried to play through it. And it got worse and worse to the point where I had been prescribed the prescription pain medication, and getting to the point where you're taking so much pain medication that you're addicted to it. You're sick all the time. I couldn't play sports anymore. I got to the point where I couldn't do anything anymore. And feeling like you can't get off the medicine, and this feeling of hopelessness that comes with that is real, and it's really hard. I mean, it's a difficult feeling. And I think a lot of people have that feeling in different ways. But I think when I started doing P90X, I went through a mental transformation before a physical transformation, and I really had to get my head right. And then, falling in love with the products, finding that exercise without nutrition doesn't do a whole lot, and then applying Shakeology as 1 meal a day as the only change, adding that to the exercise, and then having great results, it helps you to really have this testimonial. Mm-hmm. And then when you get healthy again, you're like, you have this passion to go out and share what you experienced. Like an amazing movie, if you go to the movie theater and you see something that just really inspires you, you want to go out and you want to tell everybody about what you experienced. If you feel some emotion that goes along with a song or an album, you want to do the same thing. You want to sing it out loud, or you want to tell everybody what it is. And I think that's what I went through as I became a coach. And then the cool thing that goes along with it, some of you know that, my whole family has been blessed by the experience, helping Jeff, Kirsty's husband, and then other family members, and then friends, and then, on and on and on towards a large quantity of people is a pretty amazing feeling. And so those are some of the things that drive me. But, I guess more than anything else, it's that feeling of hopelessness when you get past it, you can't forget that the gratitude that comes from it.
Thank you. That was literally like the perfect conclusion and the perfect last story too. Because I'm not going to talk a lot about this because we're almost out of time, but when you're looking at how to tell your story, I love, Dad, how you shared hopeless to healthy, because that's really what we are looking at and helping other people have that exact transformation. So you start out by telling your story with when. So before Beachbody, what did your life look like back then? And that's kind of your rock bottom. And if you're like Molly and you've been pretty healthy your whole life, and so you don't really have a really horrible sob story, which I think is quite normal actually, then you're going to look at something smaller like, I loved my 3:00 nap that I don't have to have anymore now that I have Shakeology. It doesn't have to be super heart-wrenching, and that's okay. That doesn't make your story any less valid or important. And then you're going to take your what now is like kind of your aha moment where you saw that change start to happen. And then how is your life different now? And I know that the pictures are kind of cutting off the words, but that's okay because I'm going to share this awesome training with you guys to do on your own. I'll send the link to your upline. We'll have that to share with you. And of course, you have an assignment to either write out your story, and it doesn't have to be all facets of your story. It can either be financial, emotional, or physical, and either write out your story with a picture or record yourself speaking it, because the more you share your story and talk about it, the easier it's going to be for you to talk about it when someone randomly comes up to you and says, you look really great, what have you been doing? Or you look a lot happier, tell me about your life now. And you're going to be able to just whip it right out because you talk about it so much, or you've written about it so much that you have it ready to share with other people so that your story can make a difference. Because people need to hear your story no matter what it's about or no matter what it is. They need to hear it because we are here to help each other. And our job as Beachbody coaches is to help other people live happier, healthier lifestyles. And that is a huge responsibility that we have. We are so blessed to have this opportunity that we have, and it is our responsibility to share it with other people. So I hope you will accept this challenge to write out or record your story. And I'd love to give, I don't know, Lisa and Becca, do you think it's reasonable to say like you have about a week to turn that in and share it in your own group?
That sounds reasonable to me.
Okay.
I think it's too long.
A week is too long? Okay.
I might forget. I don't know. Just do it.
Just do it. By Friday. Let's say by Friday.
Yeah.
There you go. By Friday.
Then you can party over the weekend.
Could you share that last slide, or can you go back to that last slide? I didn't catch all of it.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. So the win is, what was your life before? Identifying, it was really hard to pay for anything. We were at a point where we were paying for everything on credit cards and got to like $10,000 worth of debt and had to move in with my parents, which thank goodness they were there for us.
Okay. And then pause.
Yeah.
So for like Ashley or Molly, the rock bottom, would be like what? Like, can we just, I just want to hash that out.
Yeah. Ashley, do you want to answer that, or do you want me to give an example? Let me see.
Just give it.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I don't care.
So it could be as simple as, like I said, like I didn't have the energy to, take care of my kids throughout the day.
Oh, right.
Or, I know a lot of people had digestion problems before having Shakeology. It can be as simple as how you felt, how your body was before Beachbody.
Perfect. Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
I remember, I just thought of this, but I was always so tired.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I can incorporate that into my story, but me and my husband would say that we had the tired disease because we were always tired. And I literally got sick every month. Like once a month I would be sick.
Yeah.
But I feel like I need to talk about that more. Thank you for making me think of that.
Yeah. For sure. I love how Becca said, like, maybe you haven't even, like, had your full story happen yet. Like, maybe you're still in the midst of it and you're going to see now how different your life is now than before Shakeology. Maybe it's just as simple as you didn't really feel like your life had that much of a purpose beyond being a wife and a mom. And now you realize that you have so much of a higher purpose to be able to help other people. And a year from now, you're going to have a list of people whose lives are different and who have their own story because of you.
Freaking right. Oh my gosh, that email you get from Beachbody, you get this email. I didn't know this. You get this email from Beachbody after you've been coaching for, is it just a year or is it every year?
That was actually brand new. That's the first time they've sent that out.
Yeah. Okay, because it's amazing. And it's like, how many people you've helped this year? Like, it's like all these details. And I was like, yes. It like just pumped me up. Like, I was like, my life is complete. Like, so yeah, you'll definitely have those moments. And like, I frequently tear up because like things will happen and I'm like, this is why I'm doing this. Okay. Like, everything's amazing. Okay. So anyway, so then
Thank you.
So then it's what aha moment, what happened? Did you already explain this? I just feel like it went really fast.
I think I went through it quickly because I didn't know like how much you guys wanted me to keep talking.
Okay, I'm sorry.
But also because I'm going to be sharing that training that explains all of this. But basically it just says when, what, and how, and I kind of added in all this other stuff just to kind of help you see.
Okay.
Examples.
Cool.
But yeah. Okay. So,
who's Julianne?
One of my coaches. She popped right on there. Julie, do you want to share with us something?
She just said, "Pay attention, Rebecca."
I thought she was gonna get away with it.
Go to bed. I'm just teasing. No, you're fine. I love it. I'm just go to bed. Go to bed.
So, I just wanted to share something really quick. Like, I know. Oh, I can't remember her name, and now I feel terrible. Molly. Okay, sorry. She was talking about how she wasn't really sure that she didn't have like this big aha thing. Well, I don't know if Molly has breastfed or not, but I've come across like quite a few women who breastfeed, and I know several of you breastfeed. But one of the things that like blew my mind, my daughter who's 6 months old has terrible like silent reflux. Like, we had to take her to a specialist and everything, 2 different reflux medications a day. And so I'm like brand new at all of this. Like, I just started my 3rd week of 21-day fix. And I mean, I went cold turkey off everything that was crap. And I've been like following it to the book. And I was so focused on doing that like crazy for the first 4 days. I was a total bad mom, forgot to give my daughter her reflux medicine. It was not until day 5 that I realized that like she had not had any reflux issues. She'd not had like no gurgly belly. She was happier. She had like regular diaper bowel movements, which I mean, probably TMI, but as a mom, like I've seen a lot of women post stuff about like babies' sensitivity and different things like that. And I had no idea that something as simple as me eating healthy and drinking Shakeology would like make my kid not feel so terrible all the time. So even just something like that simple, I mean, I wouldn't even have to tell other people all the other different stuff. Just that alone, like, is awesome. So
I love it.
Thought I'd share that.
So Molly, that means you need to have another baby so you can experience Shakeology while breastfeeding.
I'm good there, though. Thank you. I'll just have to talk about my friend Eileen and
yeah,
exactly
the experience that she had there, because I'm good with
go ahead and use me.
Awesome.
Love it.
Okay.
Deanna?
Awesome.
Does Deanna want to share? I just don't want to like hang up before. If not, that's fine.
Deanna? I don't see Deanna on my list.
Oh, maybe she left. She was on here.
She said her computer froze and she wasn't able to get back on.
Okay, so we're all good.
Well, I haven't heard from Julie yet.
Julie.
Miss Julie.
Oh,
What
what
am
am
I
I supposed to be
talking on
saying?
But we were just sharing something about, here, let me actually go back to our last page. Doesn't have to be super life-changing, but something about your passions and how that affects your coaching, or something that you have realized through coaching. You're like a deep thinker, so she's going to pop out something really awesome.
No pressure.
Yeah, but no pressure.
Not at all. So life-changing experiences. I think, this has been awesome for me. I've been coaching since the middle of January, and I've got 4 kids and I homeschool. And so it's been busy, and I'm still getting the swing of things. We've been sick for 2 weeks in my house. But I feel like having the structure that comes with my new habits with coaching and with getting my workouts in and having my shakes every day has, I don't know, somehow helped me to find balance. My kids are totally accustomed to mom having her shake. And as soon as the baby takes a nap, mom goes and works out. And it's just become normal. And I don't know, it's been awesome that it's just, I mean, it's like a lot of people mention I'm not on a diet, and I don't, you have a new lifestyle. And so for me, I guess that's been the life-changing thing, that because I want this for me, and I want it for my kids. I don't want them to struggle with stuff that I struggled with growing up, and body issues and confidence issues. And so I don't know, for me, I think it's just been the best lifestyle transformation for my family. And for me, coaching, I mean, I could do this as a participant, as a customer, but for me, doing it as a coach keeps me accountable. Because otherwise, I mean, I've done Beachbody before, and I just would fall off, and I'd fall off, and I'd fall off. But now I'm accountable to other people, and they keep me accountable, and it's been awesome. And now my kids know what's going on because I share everything with them. I mean, they did a plank with me for my challenge group this morning, and I had them do it with me, and we've got a whole 10 more days, and they're going to do each single thing with me. And so I don't know, it's been awesome because it's now just completely a part of our life, and it's what we do. Mm-hmm. And when we talk about why we don't have that, I tell them that's not healthy, so we're not going to eat that. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, it's turning this into our life has been the best change. And even my husband, like, randomly just started working out at work and running and on his lunch breaks. And it just has seeped into everything. And it's been just the best. And I've got a long way to go. But even though, like, being sick for 2 weeks in our house and I haven't always got my workout in, I know that I'm just going to pick up and start again tomorrow because it's just our life now. And it's okay if I have a really horrible day because tomorrow I'm starting again, and I'm going to have my shake in the morning, and I'm going to get my workout in as long as I'm healthy. And we're just going to keep going, and there's just no falling off this time. It's just life now.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's how I was. Julianne, where are you from?
I'm from Pomona and down by Kirsty, but I'm living up in Montana.
I feel like you have an accent. I don't know what it is, though.
I get that sometimes.
A Montana accent.
Yeah, I don't know.
European.
I don't know.
Also,
I grew up in California. I did some school in New York, and now I'm in Northwest Montana.
Okay. And then I also just want to say, like, you've only been coaching since January, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I definitely think, like, you should definitely be shooting for, like, diamond ace. Like, you could definitely do this.
Yeah. It's been hard, and I know Kirsty has helped me a ton because I haven't had a lot of success in people being interested, and I don't have a ton to lose, and I've lost 12 pounds, but you can't really tell very well. It's really subtle, and my sister, she's like, it'll come, don't worry. And once it does, people go like, oh my gosh, that looks amazing, but it's probably going to take a while because that's just how my body goes, and I know that, and I'm okay with it. I'm not going to fight the system. I'm just going to keep doing it.
Well,
but
I just meant the things you just shared, like your heart
Mhm.
and like about your kids, like that stuff. That'll get people wanting to be a coach.
You ask Kirsty, I share everything all the time.
Yes.
My kids, everything.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Good.
It's amazing.
Keep doing it.
Thanks.
Okay, you girls are awesome. Oh, and my dad. I'm sorry. I keep doing that. You girls,
Girls and dad.
on the line. Sorry. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for sharing with us your experiences and being vulnerable tonight. I learned so much about each of you and want to reiterate the challenge to write your story down and get this really, like, think about it night and day and get it out there and share it. And then also just to kind of put a thought in your mind to be breadcrumbing little bits and pieces of your story throughout your posts every day. That's so much better than having one big long post that has 5 paragraphs and you're pouring your heart and soul out. It's so much better to have little breadcrumbs throughout the day with your, deeper thoughts and emotions and more about you than you would normally maybe share, but in little bits and pieces. I hope that makes sense.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. All right, anyone else want to say anything? And we'll wrap it all up. Okay, thank you guys so much for being on. We're going to post the training for you to follow and then make sure we're sharing in our groups. All right, bye guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Wait, should we take a picture?
Oh, yes. Please do.
Can you unshare your screen real quick?
Yeah. I'm still trying to figure out how. Okay, stop share.
There we go. Okay, ready?